She looks like any other 16-year-old girl walking home from school. Backpack slung over one shoulder, hair a little messy, nothing about her screams danger. But if you looked inside her bag right now, you would find something that does not belong there. A knife. Clean, sharp, and already used more times than you would ever guess. This is Claire, and by the time this story is over, you will understand exactly why she carries it. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Claire's inner world before we even understand what she does with it. She has a phrase she repeats to herself constantly, almost like a prayer, convincing herself that every violent thing she does is somehow blessed, somehow ordered by God himself. We also get glimpses of a recurring nightmare that haunts her sleep, a shadowy man stalking a baby deer through the woods, and then, without warning, the image cuts to her own hands, soaked in blood. It is unsettling, and it is clearly not the first time she has had this dream. By daylight, none of this is visible. Claire is just a student in a quiet little town, living with her grandmother, Gigi, a former actress who once had a real taste of fame before settling into small-town life. Their home feels warm, almost ordinary. That is exactly what makes what happens next so jarring. One afternoon after school, Claire is standing at the bus stop, waiting to head home like she does every day. Two of her friends walk over and point out a notice pinned to the board: the bus route has been shut down for the day. That means one thing: a long walk home on foot. Claire is just about to start walking when a car slows down beside her. The driver leans over and asks for directions. She hesitates at first, the way anyone would. But he is quick to smooth things over, offering her cash for her trouble and pulling out photos of his two young daughters, the universal signal of, "Trust me, I'm harmless." Since he also offers her a ride, Claire decides it is worth it and climbs in. That decision should worry you immediately, because almost as soon as the doors shut, something feels off. The inside of the car is disgustingly dirty, like no one has cleaned it in years. Then a phone starts ringing from his jacket pocket, the same phone he swore, only minutes earlier, was completely dead. And then, the doors lock. All of them, at once. Claire asks him to pull over. He doesn't. He just keeps driving, and that silence, that refusal to stop, tells her everything she needs to know. What happens next takes seconds. She loops the seatbelt around his throat and pulls, and the car spins out of control before slamming into the trees. Claire crawls out of the wreckage, and here is where the movie flips your expectations completely. She is not shaken. She is not scrambling for help. She calmly wipes down every surface she touched, then pulls a knife from her bag and finishes what the crash started. Let that sink in for a second. This was never a girl who got unlucky with a stranger's car. This was a predator who picked the wrong passenger. Back home that same night, she goes through a routine so practiced it is almost boring to watch, scrubbing blood from her shoes, her clothes, her tools, methodically, like she has done this more times than we know. This is not her first kill. Not even close. Waiting for her inside the house is her friend Juliana, who has been sitting there for hours because the two of them were supposed to study together. Juliana wants to know where she's been all this time, and Claire lies smoothly, saying she waited at a local cafe and couldn't text because her phone had died. It's a good lie, except for one problem. Right before Juliana leaves for the night, she casually mentions that the cafe Claire named was closed all day for a private event. She doesn't say anything more, but her face says it all. She knows Claire is lying to her. Once alone in her room, Claire realizes she isn't actually alone. Sitting there, very much dead, is Bob, the ghost of a mailman she accidentally killed a while back. Bob is not exactly thrilled with the mess she's made tonight. He warns her that the crash from earlier is going to catch up with her tomorrow and that she should brace herself. Claire, exhausted and irritated, brushes him off completely. The next morning at school, a conversation between her friends accidentally hands her a massive piece of the puzzle. They're talking about Teresa Holmes, a girl who vanished from their school the previous year, and how the man responsible for taking her always used the exact same method: show a photo of his daughters, ask for help with directions, and then disappear with his victim for good. Claire freezes. The man from last night. The photos of his daughters. It clicks instantly. She didn't just kill a random stranger. She killed the man behind Teresa's disappearance. But before she can even process that, Detective Timmons shows up at her school, asking pointed questions about yesterday afternoon. When he presses her for her exact whereabouts between 2 and 8 o'clock, her mind blanks, and she stumbles through a hastily invented alibi. It's shaky enough that Timmons clearly doesn't believe her, but without any hard evidence tying her to the crash, he has no choice but to let her walk away. Later that day, Wade, her friend Amity's ex-boyfriend, offers her a ride and invites her to a party at his place that night. She's not interested at first, but Bob, of all people, talks her into going. At the party, their mutual friend Helga snaps a few pictures of the two of them together, and the night rolls on pleasantly enough until Claire slips upstairs to find a bathroom. That's when the police arrive, responding to noise complaints, and the party scatters instantly. Claire ducks into the nearest room to avoid getting caught, and while hiding, she accidentally knocks over a stack of photographs. What she sees stops her cold, picture after picture of drugged, unconscious girls. And one of them is unmistakably Teresa Holmes, the missing classmate everyone had been talking about that morning. Before she can process it, Wade walks in and asks what she's doing in there. She covers with a quick lie about hiding from the cops, turns down a cigarette he offers her, and leaves the second she gets the chance. But now she knows something terrible. Wade is connected to whatever happened to those missing girls. The next day, during auditions for the school play, Claire tries to warn Amity, asking carefully if Wade was ever controlling or aggressive with her. Instead of answering, Amity gets defensive and accuses Claire of only going to his party to cause drama. Claire tries again later, this time going straight to Juliana with what she found, explaining the photos in detail. Juliana refuses to believe a word of it, insisting Wade doesn't even drink or do drugs, and instead turns the accusation back on Claire, suggesting she's just trying to steal her boyfriend. 2 warnings, 2 dead ends. Both of the people Claire is trying to protect think she's the problem. Digging deeper on her own, Claire discovers something far bigger than one missing girl. Over the past several years, an alarming number of students have vanished from their town, and none of them were ever found. This isn't a single crime. It's a pattern. At school, spotting Detective Timmons in the hallway again, Claire slips into the auditorium to avoid him and ends up talking to the play's director, Mr. Edward, who unexpectedly offers her the lead male role opposite Amity. She accepts, distracted, but Timmons catches up with her anyway. In the dean's office, he reveals a new detail: a witness places a red-haired girl at the bus stop the day of the crash. Claire holds her story together as best she can, but Timmons zeroes in on a 3-hour gap she can't explain. Still no proof, though, so once again, he has to let her go with nothing but a warning. That night, overwhelmed by everything piling up, Claire drinks to quiet her racing mind, and instead of calming down, she becomes even more fixated on solving this before anyone else disappears. Bob nudges her toward an abandoned house nearby, and inside, she finds a camera loaded with photographs, the very same ones Helga had taken of her at Wade's party. That confirms it. Helga and Wade are tangled up in this together somehow. Furious, Claire corners Helga after rehearsal the next day and, without much of a warning, punches him in the face, telling him to stay away from her. He has no idea what just happened or why. Then comes the gut punch. On her walk home, Claire learns that Juliana has disappeared. All that effort to warn her, and it wasn't enough. Guilt crashes over her instantly. Back home, things are unraveling on another front too. Gigi has found the bloody knife hidden in Claire's room, the very weapon used in the murders. With a citywide curfew now in effect, Claire can't even go looking for Juliana without breaking the law, and that tension explodes into a full confrontation with her grandmother. Gigi holds up the knife, demanding answers Claire can't bring herself to give, and pleads with her not to leave the house, revealing that she has already buried a daughter and cannot bear to lose Claire too. Claire sneaks out anyway. She ends up at a church, kneeling in front of a statue of the Virgin Mary, apologizing for the blood on her hands and begging for direction. For a moment, the statue's face shifts and it's Juliana staring back at her, silently pleading for help. It's all the push she needs. That night, she breaks into Helga's house and demands answers about the camera. Terrified, he insists it was stolen from him at the party and that he never even saw those photos. When Claire shows him one of the images anyway, he doesn't recognize the girl, but he does recognize the room behind her, a house he once visited for a modeling shoot booked through an agency. He hands over the address. Claire heads straight there, hoping against hope that Juliana is inside. A man answers the door, and Claire plays the part of a lost, harmless teenager searching for a missing friend. She asks to use the bathroom just to get a foot in the door, then asks for a glass of water, fully aware of how risky that is. Sure enough, he slips something into the drink. Claire drinks it anyway and lets herself go under. She wakes up tied to a chair in a dark basement, and right beside her, also bound, is Juliana. As her head clears, she overhears her captor on the phone with a wealthy client named Gibbs, and through the conversation, 2 horrifying facts come into focus. First, this man's name is Randall Morton, the identical twin brother of Joe, the very man she killed in the car crash. Second, the brothers had been running a trafficking operation together for years, feeding kidnapped girls to paying clients like Gibbs. She also catches a mention of a new recruit who joined the operation right after Joe's death. With the transport truck scheduled to arrive within the hour, Claire wastes no time working her hands free. She grabs a pair of scissors, takes down the nearest guard, and fights her way through the rest of them until she manages to wrestle a gun away. Just as she gains the upper hand, Randall grabs Juliana, still unconscious, and holds the scissors to her throat, forcing a standoff. Claire can't risk a shot. Then, salvation seems to arrive in the form of a police siren outside. Claire screams for help, relief flooding through her, until the officer steps into the basement. It's Detective Timmons. He isn't there to save anyone. He's one of them. In the chaos of the standoff, Randall makes a move, and Claire reacts first, putting a bullet in his shoulder and dropping him instantly. Timmons, seeing his plan collapsing, bolts. Claire frees Juliana, gets them both out, and immediately alerts the press, blowing the entire trafficking ring wide open for the whole town to see. But the horror isn't finished. When Claire finally makes it home, she finds Timmons has beaten her there, and Gigi is already dead, killed by his hands. He doesn't even try to hide it. Instead, he lays out an offer, proposing they team up, revealing he's known all along that she killed both Joe and Bob the mailman. Claire tells him, with quiet fury, that he just took the last thing she had left. She goes for him with her knife, and the fight that follows is brutal. Timmons eventually gets the upper hand, chokes her until she stops fighting back, and dumps her into the swimming pool, certain she's finished. He turns his back. Big mistake. Claire surges up out of the water behind him and snaps his neck before he even knows what's happening. In the aftermath, life tries to return to something normal. Juliana is back at school, safe. Claire is getting ready backstage for the play when Bob appears one final time. She tells him, heartbroken, that Gigi is gone, and he gently tells her he already knows, that Gigi is watching over her now, at peace. But before he fades away for good, Bob leaves her with one last warning: Oak Street's story isn't finished, and there's one more job waiting for her. He whispers a code into her ear before vanishing completely. Claire realizes almost immediately what that code unlocks: Amity's phone. She sneaks it open and scrolls through the messages, and what she finds flips everything she thought she knew. That new recruit Randall mentioned on the phone wasn't a stranger at all. It was Amity, her own friend, quietly working for Gibbs this entire time. Rage settles over her, cold and focused. Backstage, surrounded by the props for tonight's play, Claire swaps out the fake staged knife for her real one, the same blade that has ended more than one life already. The curtain rises. She steps into the spotlight, a wash of deep red light falling across her face, and her eyes are locked with a promise of exactly what's coming next. Oak Street's story is not over. Not even close. And that's where the movie leaves us, right on the edge, refusing to give us the ending we're desperate for. Honestly, this is one of those films that keeps rewarding you the more you sit with it, so if you've got a theory about where Claire's story goes next, or what's really waiting for Amity, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this is the kind of deep dive you want more of, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe, because there are a lot more of these coming, and you really don't want to be the person who missed them.